All right, welcome back. Today we're going to tear down a really cool piece of tech. It's an app that basically gives fishermen AI superpowers. We're going to get into exactly how it turns a regular old iPhone into a serious fish-finding machine. I mean, we're talking from a single tiny pixel all the way to a GPS waypoint you can steer your boat to.
You know this quote? This is everything. This is the entire reason this app even exists. For literally centuries, the best way to find fish offshore was to look for birds diving. But let's be real, the human eye, it gets tired. You get distracted. You can't see that far. It's a classic age-old problem, and it just so happens to be something that AI is perfectly built to tackle.
Okay, so let's put ourselves on the boat for a second. Let's really get into the angler's dilemma here. Because it's not just about looking around, right? The ocean is a huge, chaotic, and visually noisy place.
And this really breaks down the difference between us and the machine. Look, a person, you have good days, you have bad days. You might miss a whole flock of birds because you're, I don't know, grabbing a sandwich or checking a fishing line. But the AI, it's relentless. It is a tireless lookout that never blinks. It doesn't get bored. It just analyzes every single frame with the exact same focus over and over again.
So, okay, how does AI actually solve this problem? Well, the solution, when you look at it from a high level, is it's incredibly elegant. It's all about turning that thing we all have in our pockets into a serious piece of tactical gear.
Yeah, the whole idea is really simple when you think about it. You've already got this super powerful camera and computer in your pocket, right? So let's use it. The app automates the most boring, tedious part of fishing, just staring at the horizon for hours, and it radically cuts down the time between spotting a sign and actually getting your line in the water. And for the person using it, the whole process is it's brilliantly simple. You open the app, it's scanning, it finds something, you get an alert, ping, you tap to confirm, guess the distance, and boom, one more tap and you've got a waypoint sent right to your Garmin. The whole thing literally takes seconds. So, seems easy enough, right? But what the AI is actually having to see, well, that's where things get complicated. Because behind that super simple interface is a massive, massive technical challenge. We're talking about one of the harder problems in all of computer vision.
And that brings us right to the heart of it. The tiny pixel problem. Yeah, we're going to zoom way in now, past that slick user interface, and look at the messy, super difficult reality the AI has to deal with, literally pixel by pixel.
10. Just 10 pixels. That's it. See, from 200 meters away or even further, a bird isn't a bird. It doesn't have wings or feathers or a beak. To the camera, to the AI, it's just a tiny little blob, maybe 10 pixels wide. It's just a blurry little speck against this huge, shimmering, constantly moving background of the ocean.
And check this out. This quote isn't some marketing line from the app's website. No, this comes straight from an AI research paper. It's from academics studying small object detection. And what that tells you is just how incredibly hard this problem is, even for the most advanced AI. The target, it has almost nothing for the computer to grab onto. No texture, no clear color, nothing. And it's not just that the bird is tiny. The AI has to deal with all this other chaos too. The boat is constantly moving, rocking back and forth. You've got sun glare just blasting the camera lens. There's fog, there's haze, and on top of all that, it has to be smart enough to tell the difference between a diving bird and, say, the white foam on top of a wave. It's a completely hostile environment for computer vision.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? How in the world do you get an AI to turn a few blurry pixels into a reliable feeding frenzy alert? How do you build a system that can cut through all that noise and give you something you can actually trust?
Well, the answer is actually a really brilliant change in how you think about the problem. They didn't just build a camera app that sees birds. Instead, they approached it like they were building a bird radar. And this analogy, this is the key to understanding the whole thing.
Okay, step one is the ping. Just like a radar sends out a pulse of energy, the app's AI model, a modified version of something called YOLO V8, is constantly scanning every single frame. It's sending out a digital ping, looking for anything, no matter how small, that could be a target. It's basically trying to find that first little signal in all the static.
But here's the thing. A single ping, a single detection in one frame, that could be anything. It could be a flash of sunlight, a bit of sea foam. It's probably just noise. A real target, though, a real bird, that's going to show up in the next frame and the next and the next. So the system creates echo trails. It connects the dots between frames, building a persistent track that proves it's a real, moving object, not just random junk. Just like you'd see on a real radar screen.
And finally, step 3, you have to actually read the signal. The system looks at those echo trails and starts analyzing their behavior.
See, it's not just about finding a bird, it's about finding a feeding bird. Is it just one bird flying in a straight line, or is it a whole group of them circling one spot, making sharp dives into the water? By analyzing those patterns, the AI can tell the difference between a real feeding frenzy and just, background noise.
Okay, so the AI has done its job. It's found a real target, a real feeding frenzy. Now what? How do we get from pixels on a screen to a waypoint on a map?
Well, it all comes down to a bit of math, a geodetic calculation. The app basically needs 3 key ingredients. First, it gets your boat's position from the phone's GPS. Second, it gets the boat's heading, which way you're pointing, from the phone's compass. And third, it needs you, the user, to give it an estimated distance. With those 3 pieces of the puzzle, it can use some simple trigonometry to project a final GPS coordinate for the target.
But, and this is really important, look at this table. This shows why the app is more like a tactical guide and not, a perfect missile lock system. Your phone's GPS, super accurate, down to a few meters, but the phone's compass can be off by a few degrees. And the biggest variable of all? The range estimate, that's you. A small error there has a huge impact on the final waypoint. That's why this whole system is designed to get you into the right zone, not to put you directly on top of the fish.
And at the very end of all that complex processing, what do you get? This. A clean, simple, standardized GPX waypoint file. This is basically the universal language that all GPS devices speak. Your Garmin, your chart plotter, it knows exactly what this is. You send it over, and it can immediately plot a course right to the action. It's the perfect, elegant handshake between the AI's brain and your boat's navigation.
All right, so we've been deep in the weeds on the tech. Let's zoom back out and think big picture for a second. What does an app like this really mean for the future of fishing? Because it's way more than just a cool gadget.
Really, what we're looking at here is a textbook case of AI augmentation. This isn't about replacing the fisherman's skill, not at all. It's about making them better. It takes that one really tedious, tiring job scanning the horizon, and it automates it. That frees up the captain to actually think about strategy. It starts to shift fishing from being all about luck and a gut feeling to being something that's more data-driven, more strategic, and more repeatable.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on. What's the next traditional human skill that's going to get an AI-powered co-pilot? This whole model, an expert human paired with a tireless AI that handles all the boring perception and data crunching, that's the future. Whether you're a fisherman, a farmer, a doctor, whatever, this kind of partnership is about to change, well, pretty much everything. Thanks for diving in with us on this one.